The largest component of using the data collection tool is the screening information. Clicking on the screening form, you can see all the names of the people that you've entered, with filters on top, and all forms, and also your own forms that you've entered yourself. Once you've entered forms, they will either be in the to complete, completed, pending, pending TB registration, or pending X-ray. This will help you to sort out what you've already done and what you haven't yet. When you want to create a new form, you'll be most likely doing so in the offline mode. Although this is the online mode, it's got many of the same features. So like every other form, you always start with adding a new form. And there are 5 tabs on the top of the screen. The first 2, the patient's demographic information and the verbal screening, are the only 2 forms that appear in the offline mode, and the only 2 forms we'll be focusing on in this video. The first one is just basic demographic information. You'll be entering the patient's serial number from the form that you have in the chest camp. We want to use the event that we just created and the map code if you have one. Again, only the fields with stars in them are mandatory. Everything else is not completely necessary. So for the first patient, you have the serial number, the patient's first name, the patient's age. If you put age, you don't need to put date of birth. The patient's gender. You either need a phone number or a CNIC, and you can put both if you have both. But if you don't, you need at least a phone number. If you have the house number as street name, it's always good to include it, but the only thing that's mandatory for the address is the village or colony. Once you're confident that all your information is correct, you could submit the form. If you have the patient's CNIC number, you have to write it in here, but unless you submit all 13 digits, it won't let you use the form. If you submit a CNIC number that's already been submitted, the form will give you a notification. No duplicate CNIC numbers can be entered in the data. So if you've already submitted a patient's form in the past, they'll have to use phone number. Once you submit the form, the patient's contact has been created, and you can go back and complete the form at a later time. For the purpose of offline mode, we want to do each patient's demographic information in the chest camp, as well as their verbal screening information. So what will happen is you'll go into the patient's information, verify their identity, click on the verbal screening, and answer the basic questions. When you verbally screen a patient, you click yes. Go through the symptoms with the patient, and you can click on the checkbox for any one that they confirm. If the patient says they've had chest pain and a fever, you click the chest boxes, and chills additionally. Then you hit the submit button. If a patient has any symptoms, they'll be labeled as presumptive, and you can find them in the pending folder. This helps us to distinguish the patients, but presumptive patients will have to be gone back in and fill the rest of the form. These 2 components are the only 2 things that we're capturing in the offline mode in the chest camps. All other information, chest X-ray, diagnostics, and TB registration, can be filled in at a later time.